A deadly police-involved shooting at Canada's busiest airport.
Tonight, the chaotic scene at Pearson, a man killed during a confrontation with police. Good evening. Air travelers watched in horror as the scene unfolded outside departures at Terminal 1.
A man fatally shot after police say he pulled a gun. The actions of those officers now the focus of an independent investigation. CTV's Allison Hurst joins us live from Pearson with the latest details. Allison.
The investigation is still underway, but just in the last few minutes, we have heard that the departures area has reopened for access. Dozens of Peel police cars block the road outside departures at Toronto Pearson International Airport Terminal 1 as officers work to save the life of a 30-year-old man who was shot by police.
And we're crossing the crosswalk outdoors, and we heard something to the effect of 8 to 10 loud popping noises.
It happened just before 7 a.m. 3 officers were responding to a dispute between a group of adults all known to each other. Peel police say the officers tried to de-escalate the situation until a man pulled out a firearm.
3 officers did respond, but 2 officers were involved in the critical incident, so discharging their firearms. So the 2 officers are really the subject officers as designated by the SIU.
The man was pronounced dead on scene. None of the officers were injured. The province's Special Investigations Unit has been assigned to the case. They say the man was in distress and did not fire his gun.
Our officers spent an amount of time trying to resolve the dispute, an immense amount of de-escalation and engagement with the parties.
The incident causing a mess for travelers as they tried to enter the airport, including a crew from CTV National News covering the election.
Huge traffic jam of cars, of passengers trying to get dropped off, trying to make their flights.
Police blocked access to departures and were rerouting cars to the arrivals area instead.
What we saw were officers basically assisting passengers, leading them up the rampway to get into the airport so they can make their flights.
According to Pearson Airport, flights were not impacted, but all travelers were required to enter and exit by Terminal 1 arrivals while investigators were on scene. Peel police say that this had nothing to do with the airport, and they say that there's no threat to public safety or critical infrastructure. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. This is the second fatal police shooting this week. As Allison mentioned, the province's police watchdog has been assigned to investigate what happened this morning and the officer's deadly use of force. CTV's John Musselman is looking at what SIU officials are saying and what happens next. John.
Well, Natalie, the SIU will take a close look at this investigation to see how this all played out, and they will determine whether or not appropriate force was used in this case.
SIU investigators were gathering evidence today at the departure level outside Terminal 1. A spokesperson for the agency says a man was in some kind of mental distress. He produced a gun when he was shot by 2 Peel Regional Police officers.
I don't know how many shots. That's too early to confirm. We're still collecting that forensic evidence. But what I can tell you is early information indicates that this male did not discharge his firearm. However, a firearm was produced.
The SIU will now determine if the use of deadly force was appropriate. Investigators say the man was sitting in the back of an SUV when officers first arrived, but he was outside the vehicle when he was shot. CTV public safety analyst and former OPP Commissioner Chris Lewis says officers have seconds to react.
If there's a threat of a firearm, they're going to likely draw their weapons if they believe there's a firearm there. If someone produces a gun, they've got like a second to drop it before they're going to be shot, because they could very quickly go from holding it to pointing it and pulling the trigger. Less than a second.
The shooting remained isolated to the area outside the terminal. All lanes of the departure level were closed during the investigation. The only way in was through arrivals.
The gates that are in that area are specifically for overseas flights. So in the morning, it's usually a lot of flights down to Florida, down to the Caribbean, and domestic, which is on the north end of the terminal and in the middle for the U.S. departures. So it had a little bit of an impact.
This is the second police shooting in the past 5 days. On Sunday night, a 16-year-old was shot by Toronto police after the car he was in was pulled over on Shepherd Avenue near Bathurst. 2 officers fired into the car after the teen in the vehicle allegedly fired a gun at police. CTV News obtained security video showing what happened outside the car. Police body camera footage shows a person in the back seat with a gun. The teen was rushed to hospital in critical condition. He died the next day. The police officers were not hurt. We're on the arrivals levels here at Pearson. This happened on the departure level just above me. The body was removed just a short time ago. The investigation upstairs has concluded and traffic is now moving into the departure level. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Also tonight, Donald Trump takes aim at Canada once again, fueling renewed resolve to protect Ontario's prosperity. What the Premier had to say about the latest threats from south of the border.
But first, we turn to the effort to revise the rules at Toronto city parks.
Popular places as summer approaches, but you may be surprised by some of the regulations still on the books. City councillors say an update is desperately needed. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with the details. Mike.
Well, Michelle and Natalie, Councillor Josh Mallow is behind the push for change for some of those rules that require permits for playing ball at some park or to have picnics. He calls the rules archaic. At the same time today, Council also decided on renaming a park after a longtime councillor who passed away a year ago.
At city parks, it's signs like this one requiring permits for picnics that are raising some eyebrows.
Seems like a lot of extra steps in order to just be able for a family to come out and enjoy themselves.
And it's not just picnics. One sign at Sunnybrook Park had a long list of activities that requires permits, including for ball and frisbee playing. It even notes kites are prohibited.
I think our bylaw officers have more important things to spend their time on.
While the city bylaw for those activities requiring permits pertains to organized sports and groups of 25 people or more, City Councillor Josh Matlow calls the rules absurd and archaic.
There are bylaws that don't allow our kids to climb trees. We are supposed to have a permit to throw a frisbee or play catch.
This afternoon, Council supported his motion to have city staff review its park bylaws.
So it's time to clean up the ones that don't make sense.
Matlow's motion also calls on the city to explore adding more food and beverage options in parks.
We're not allowed to right now have a small cafe set up in the corner of a large park. We should be looking at innovative ways that are not unlike what's already allowed in most of the world.
While the city now reviews the park bylaws, councillors unanimously supporting naming a new park in the Lawrence Park Ravine after late councillor Jay Robinson. Robinson's husband of 42 years calls it a fitting tribute.
It's an incredible memory in her honor because parks and trees were her passion.
He was joined by family and Robinson's former staff at City Hall today as a longtime councillor was commemorated.
Jay Robinson specialized in bringing people together.
Robinson served on council for more than 14 years and had a lengthy battle with cancer. She passed away nearly a year ago.
She left a tremendous legacy. She really focused on issues around environmentalism, green spaces, tree canopy, as well as making sure that everybody was really enjoying the city and creating a city that was livable.
The city says the space benefited from Robinson's care and involvement for her family.
It's our home neighborhood. It's where we did birthday parties, tobogganing, walking the dog.
It's a beautiful memory.
As for when we can expect some of those park rules to change, well, Matlow's motion didn't have a specific timeline. Reporting live outside City Hall, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. A child was among 5 people injured in a crash in Scarborough this afternoon. The head-on collision happened at Midland near McNichol Avenue just before 4:30. Paramedics say 3 of the patients, including 2 adults and 1 child, were taken to a trauma center with serious non-life-threatening injuries.
The impact of a collision caused a car to flip on its roof in Etobicoke this afternoon. It happened just after 3:30 at Kipling and Bloor. Police say 3 vehicles were involved in the collision. 1 person suffered minor injuries.
And fire crews were called to battle a blaze in the Beaches this afternoon. According to police, there was a fire on the roof of a building at Queen Street and Hammersmith Avenue. It appears they were able to put out the flames, but it did cause plenty of traffic delays on the busy East End Street.
Also tonight, with just 4 days to go in the federal campaign, the home stretch is here and the 2-horse race is tightening. We go to Ottawa for the latest in the lead up to Monday's vote.
But first, we're live over Maple Leaf Square tonight. Leafs fans are already starting to gather, ready to cheer on the Buzz in Game 3 in the first round of the playoffs as the Battle of Ontario moves to the nation's capital. A great shot from our chopper there. Lindsay Morrison is among all the fans tonight, and you really could say it's been nothing but blue skies in Leafs land so far this series.
Very fitting, isn't it, Michelle? Yeah, of all days to enjoy a tailgate party, I think this is the one. Decidedly feeling a little more like summer today than spring. I just threw on the jacket a few moments ago, but listen to this crowd. They are having a great time. It isn't even a home game, but look at the turnout here at Maple Leaf Square. I see a lot of jerseys, but I also see some T-shirts and a few shorts as well. Let's take a look at our current temperature. You know, we made it to a high today of about 22 degrees. It did feel warmer than that once you consider some humidity. We haven't talked about that in a while. 27 degrees this hour in Windsor as well. Let's take a closer look at downtown versus Pearson. As we say, it is a little cooler by the lake. In fact, a 10-degree difference at this hour. 10 degrees at the Toronto Islands, 20 still at Pearson. And yes, mainly sunny skies and those blue skies for the Leafs. Winds have been coming out of the east once again, so that's contributing to the cool down near the lakeshore. Current look at the satellite and radar. Any wet weather appears to be to our north and to our east right now. We'll hang on to the slightest chance of a shower for this evening, but overall it's looking pretty good for anyone who plans to come out to Maple Leaf Square and cheer on the Leafs. Big game tonight. We're going to take you through your forecast for tomorrow and the weekend. Bit of a change on the way. All of those details coming up live from Maple Leaf Square. Michelle and Natalie, back to you. Thanks, Lindsay.
Hey, look forward to checking back a little later. Well, this ongoing trade war with the United States is once again in the spotlight.
It is thanks to a renewed tariff threat from President Donald Trump and has prompted a response from Ontario Premier Doug Ford during an address in Toronto today. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with the latest. Siobhan.
Well, the Premier is frustrated by these latest comments from the U.S. President, but he is laying out a plan to help deal with the threat over the next few years.
Speaking in downtown Toronto, the Premier focused on the man who lives in the White House.
He actually wants to destroy our economy. It's not just words, he wants to do it.
It's why Doug Ford's intent on breaking down interprovincial trade barriers, expediting development, and pushing a plan to balance the budget to the side.
There's a time to make sure that we balance, and there's times that we see that it might be a few $1 billion more to protect communities.
Hello, everybody.
Something in sharper focus after a fresh round of attacks from Donald Trump Wednesday.
We have a lot of everything that they sell us, but in particular cars.
A familiar line that grates on the Premier.
I feel like jumping through the television when I hear him say we don't need Canada.
There are new threats of higher tariffs on a key industry for Ontario.
When I put tariffs on Canada, they're paying 25%, but that could go up in terms of cars.
A Trump pressure tactic to force more auto manufacturing south of the border.
You can't flick a switch on overnight and create a new auto plant.
Additional tariffs on vehicle parts are supposed to kick in May 3rd, but Ford says Ontario has no clarity on whether that will happen, how much those tariffs would be.
That's a scary part here. Not even his own people, I think, know what's going on until he wakes up in the morning and he tells them what's going on.
The Premier disappointed to see Trump return to another greatest hit.
I have to be honest, as a state, it works great.
2 steps forward and then 10 steps backwards again. But let's see what happens on the 28th. I think it'll bring certainty.
Hoping Monday's election will be the start of serious negotiations about a mutually beneficial trade deal. With questions about Pierre Poilievre's future as federal Conservative leader after the vote, Ford hinted again that his focus is Queen's Park, not Parliament Hill.
I'm proud to be the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party. That's what I think.
As part of the tariff response, the province is asking the City of Toronto to consider a sole source deal to award the contract to build new Line 2 subway trains to a firm in Thunder Bay to keep those jobs in Ontario. Mayor Olivia Chow says she has to wait until the new federal government is chosen. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Well, speaking of that, Siobhan, thank you. The U.S. president's comments were also a major focus of the federal campaign trail today.
CTV's Jeremy Charles has all the latest developments as Canadians prepare to head to the polls next week.
With just days to go before Canadians head to the polls, U.S. President Donald Trump and his comments about Canada yet again front and center on the campaign trail.
Yesterday was more proof, as if any were needed, that the old relationship with the United States is over.
At a campaign stop in British Columbia, Liberal leader Mark Carney took aim at Trump for threatening yesterday to raise auto tariffs and repeating threats to Canada's sovereignty. Carney also confirmed Trump raised the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state during their call in March. He'd previously said Trump respected Canada's sovereignty during that call.
Yes or no, did Mr. Trump bring up the 51st state in his call with you?
I said that he did. Him raising something and then where the discussion is. He has these things in his mind. This is not news. He raises it all the time.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
While at a stop in Winnipeg this morning, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh focused on how his party would fight back against the U.S. president and support workers impacted by the trade war.
I'm worried, I think, as a lot of Canadians are worried, that if Mark Carney's not being straight up with us, he's not going to be straight up with us in the negotiations. And workers are worried about what's going to be on the table.
While Pierre Poilievre today stuck to his party's message at a stop in Halifax.
After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term.
The Conservative leader pledged to scrap electric vehicle sales mandates. Canada has said 20% of all new vehicles sold must be electric by 2026.
Let me be clear. I have nothing against electric cars. If you want one, buy one. Free choice. Make your own decision. I encourage you to buy one that's made in Canada.
Now, the race in this election campaign is only getting tighter. The latest Nanos numbers show the Liberal lead over the Conservatives is down to just 4 points. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
And taking a closer look at that Nanos research poll, the Liberals were down almost a point to just shy of 43% support. The Conservatives climbing 3 full points to 39.3%, while the NDP fell by even more to 7.2 in this poll. There were slight increases for the Bloc, Greens and People's Party. Now, when it comes to Canadians' preferred prime minister, Liberal leader Mark Carney held on to the lead, although lost about a point, while Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre climbed to just shy of 37%. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was at 4.5%. These polls of more than 1,300 Canadians are considered accurate within 2.7 percentage points, 19 times out of 20. And a reminder to join CTV News on election night. It's coming up on Monday. We'll have results, analysis, and perspective from all across the country. Our coverage gets underway at 7 p.m. Eastern, led by Omar Sachedina and Vashi Kapelos.
India's prime minister is vowing to punish those responsible for an attack that killed at least 26 people this week in the disputed Kashmir region.
India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist and their backers.
India has suggested Pakistan was to blame for supporting what it called cross-border terrorism. New Delhi has now downgraded diplomatic ties with Islamabad, suspended a water treaty, and closed a key border crossing.
We've also seen limited signs of external pressure on India to restrain its action. So unlike previous periods of India-Pakistan hostility, when the U.S. played a prominent role in de-escalating tensions, we're not seeing any signs of that under the current U.S. administration. So as a result of that, I think we could see the situation go from bad to worse.
Pakistan has denied the accusation, and a previously unknown militant group claimed responsibility for Tuesday's attack.
Russia launched a wave of attacks on Ukraine's capital overnight, just as Washington hopes to push the two countries to stop the ongoing war. At least 12 people were killed in a barrage of missiles and drones. It marked Russia's deadliest assault on Kyiv since last July. Top U.S. officials this week said they were pushing for a ceasefire deal that would see both Ukraine and Russia give up territory lost since Moscow's 2022 invasion. When Volodymyr Zelensky said he couldn't accept a deal giving up land, Donald Trump said the Ukrainian president was, quote, prolonging the killing field. Today, Trump lashed out against his Russian counterpart for the strikes on Kyiv, saying not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. He was asked about the comment later in the Oval Office.
We're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired, and I was not happy with it. That's what I meant.
The U.S. president has indicated Washington may walk away from efforts to secure a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, but he hasn't indicated whether that would mean withdrawing military support from Ukraine.
Officials in Gaza say at least 50 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes today. The territory's Hamas-controlled health ministry provided that figure and didn't immediately have details on the identities of the dead. But it said many of those killed were women and children. The Israeli military said it targeted a command and control center for Hamas and the smaller Islamic Jihad militant group, saying it is working to secure the release of hostages.
The Vatican says more than 90,000 people have already filed through St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects to Pope Francis.
Crowds of well-wishers and worshippers continue to line up this evening ahead of the funeral on Saturday. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin has the latest from the Vatican.
For each person filing past the casket of the People's Pope, a story, a connection. A reason to want to capture this moment in history. Many are tourists turned pilgrims.
I think that in the first place, how lucky we are to be able to see this, because how many people in the world would like to be, and they are not here.
I was very, very emotional. I didn't think I'd cry, but when I saw him, I did. I started to cry.
My daughter seen the Pope, and even 2 years ago we met the Pope in Budapest by person, and now we wanted to come. We are on a cruise now. Yeah, on a cruise, and we came just for the Pope.
Around 3,000 pilgrims move through the silence of the Basilica each hour. And with the Pope's family members seated near the casket, soccer players came to offer their prayers. The Pope, a well-known fan of the beautiful game. Cardinals summoned from around the world also continue to converge onto the Vatican. 113 had arrived by morning when a meeting was held in a hall next to the Basilica. Vatican analyst Gerardo Collin says they're discussing final details on preparations for Saturday's funeral, but also plans for the conclave to elect the new pope.
They have chosen a 90-year-old preacher of the papal household, Father Cantalamessa, now a cardinal, to give the talk inside in the conclave. And that's an interesting thing, because he kind of sets the tone.
But for now, the traditions and rituals of mourning continue. A document detailing the Pope's life and coins will be placed in his casket before it's closed for burial.
The sealing of the casket is scheduled for Friday night, and crowds are expected until then. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Rome.
Governor General Mary Simon will lead the Canadian delegation at Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday. Simon met the late pontiff when he visited Canada in 2022 to apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the residential school system. She will be joined by her husband as well as the Senate Speaker. All 5 Canadian cardinals will be there, as well as several bishops. Mark Carney says he won't attend the service in his capacity as Prime Minister, as he feels it isn't right for him to leave the country so close to Election Day on Monday. And CTV News will have special coverage of the funeral for Pope Francis on Saturday, hosted by Omar Sachedina. That begins at 3:30 a.m. on CTV News channel, and streaming live on ctvnews.ca.
A nationwide moment of silence in Israel today to remember the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust. Sirens blared across the country for 2 minutes. Buses and cars halted on streets and highways as drivers stepped out of their vehicles to pay their respects. Dignitaries, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, laid wreaths at Yad Vashem, the National Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem.
Still ahead on CTV News, a troubling milestone amid the measles outbreak in Ontario. Although Toronto has been largely spared, officials are now investigating a case at an Etobicoke child care centre.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many people would like to make a little extra money on the side, which is why there's been a huge increase in job scams. We speak with 2 victims who hope to earn some extra cash, but they lost more than $80,000. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
The Leafs game. Okay, who's winning tonight? The Leafs, of course. The Leafs, of course. What do you say? Should we get a Go Leafs Go going? Go Leafs Go. Go Leafs Go. Go Leafs Go. Overall tonight, we're looking at some pretty mild conditions. Here's over overnight at a glance, not dropping all that much temperature-wise, and then tomorrow we're getting into a bit of active weather, so watch for thunderstorms at times in the afternoon and tomorrow night. A full-of-gear weather forecast is coming up here live from Maple Leaf Square, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
As many people struggle with rising prices for groceries and housing, some are trying to find extra income by searching for jobs online.
It's led to a huge surge in fake job scams. Last year, Canadians lost more than $47 million to employment scams, and it could be worse this year. Pat Foran joins us with a consumer alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Natalie. It usually starts with an ad on social media. You're told you could have a side hustle selling products that could earn you hundreds or even thousands of dollars a week. You need to invest your own money, and that's the sure sign it's a scam.
I felt sad. I felt like, what am I going to do now?
After Greg Burgos of Toronto lost his job, he was hospitalized with a medical condition. He was unemployed and needed money. That's when he saw an ad on social media with a promise of work.
Is anybody interested in a part-time job, making a little extra money? And I said yes.
Burgos was directed to open a TikTok shop where he would help buy and sell items. He would have to pay for them in advance, but then receive a commission. He was skeptical, but says it appeared his online account was growing.
Sooner or later, I'm going to be able to withdraw my money back, plus a little bit extra money to help me through all this.
But when he tried to withdraw the funds, he couldn't. He was scammed out of $11,000.
This is money that I was saving. This is money that I need.
Maria, who asked us not to identify her, was also caught in a job scam. A company contacted her through social media with a position rating products online. She also had to pay in advance to earn a commission.
And any time you rated the product, what happened was you hit a certain number, and then you would get the commission. But every time you hit that number, it would extend, and they would want more money.
She kept putting in her own money until she was scammed out of $70,000.
It's devastating. I feel awful. That's a lot of money.
Cybersecurity experts say when it comes to working online, don't trust unusual, unexpected job offers.
Never respond to somebody that you don't know, to complete strangers, just because they make an appeal to authority and they pretend to be someone they're not.
To avoid job scams, be concerned if no in-person interview is required. You're offered high pay for easy work. You need to send money to earn money. Research the company carefully and protect your personal information. TikTok told CTV News TikTok Shop is not available in Canada. Burgos wanted to share his story to warn others.
I just want to make sure that nobody else has to feel what I'm feeling.
And when victims realize they've been scammed, they often contact the police, but there is little that can be done. The money is usually impossible to trace, and it's often sent outside the country. So when it's gone, it's gone. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, it sure is an exciting time to be a Leafs fan. Can you believe it? We're leading the series by 2 games. The game is in Ottawa, but it doesn't matter. In Toronto, you'd think the game's here.
Yeah, exactly. And Linz, I know we're looking at a chance of thunderstorms this evening, but I have a feeling that nothing can dampen the spirits of the Leafs fans. They're behind you tonight.
Michelle and Natalie, I can't totally hear you because this crowd is so electric, kind of like thunderstorm and lightning would be, but I think we're in the clear for tonight. We do have to hold on to the slight chance of that possibility, but better chance of thunderstorm activity for tomorrow. Take a quick glance at this crowd. Again, this isn't even a home game, but look at the turnout here at Maple Leaf Square. They're having so much fun at this tailgate party. There's prizes, there's singing, there's dancing, and of course, they're hoping for a big win. Let's recap what's happened so far here in this series. This is Game 3 of the Battle of Ontario. Toronto won the first game decisively, and then the game on Tuesday, Game 2, Max Domi, the hometown hero, scoring that overtime goal. And now fans, and of course the Leafs, hoping to make it 3 wins in a row, go up 3-0 in this series. Can they do it? Of course they can. And weather-wise tonight, we're celebrating a little bit too. Let's get to your forecast, give you an idea of what's in store, not only for the rest of today, but into tomorrow. So it's been very warm today. We're still at 20 degrees at Pearson Airport. Temperatures in the teens across Wyerton and Muskoka and eastern sections of the province too. Into the night tonight, really not cooling down all that much. A forecast low of about 13 degrees. You'll notice that that is well above seasonal. And then tomorrow, yeah, we're not going to warm up all that much from there. Daytime high about 14. Again, that's normal for this time of year, but it's about 10 degrees cooler than we were today. It's also going to be quite a bit more unsettled. So let's talk about that part of your weather story too. Right now, not a whole lot of activity around the GTA. Any wet weather is to our north and mainly to our east. Here's how things are going to play out though. Into tomorrow morning, we have a chance of showers. Into the afternoon, we see a risk of a few thunderstorms. And then I want to draw your attention to later Friday night and overnight into Saturday. As a cold front swings through, we could get some embedded thunderstorms with that. Watch for some patchy fog if you have to be out on the roads. And then Saturday looks like it's going to be a mostly cloudy day with a few showers, especially earlier in the day, but possibly into the evening too. Might even get a little bit of wet snow in some higher elevations, again, well away from the GTA. We're not so worried about that here. In fact, by Sunday, beautiful rebound to a high of 18 degrees, mainly sunny skies and a mix of sun and cloud for Monday as well. Tuesday, back in the 20s, but it looks like we're going to have some wet weather to go along with that also. Again, we are live here at Maple Leaf Square. I'm hanging out with all kinds of fans here who are ready to see the Leafs win, and a big crowd out there too. They said it. Go Leafs go. I'll send it back into you.
Thanks, Lindsay. We'll check back with you a little later and all those fans. Also tonight, the storied past of a fading Canadian retail icon could be up for grabs. The Hudson's Bay aims to auction off thousands of pieces of art and historical artifacts, but the sale of some items is raising concerns. We'll explain.
The number of suspected and confirmed measles cases in Ontario has now surpassed 1,000 as opposition parties push the province to take more action against the outbreak.
This comes as Toronto Public Health investigates a new confirmed case in Etobicoke. Officials say they're responding to a case at Thomas Berry Early Learning and Child Care Centre. That's at Lakeshore Boulevard West and 32nd Street in Long Branch. Toronto Public Health says it's identifying all potential contacts and taking appropriate steps. This comes as Public Health Ontario says 1,020 cases have now been reported since the outbreak started, an increase of 95 infections since last week. So far, 76 patients have needed hospital care and 72 of them were not vaccinated, most of them children. The Ontario Liberals say the Ford government is dropping the ball on the response and isn't providing nearly enough updates to the public.
To date, we have a press release from mid-March from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we haven't seen evidence of anything else. I have no doubt that people may be working in the background, but we're certainly not seeing the results.
The province says it's been clear in its message to Ontarians that vaccination is the most effective way to limit the spread of measles and stay protected.
We've actually been working very closely with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore. We've been for over a year reinforcing the importance for public health units to refocus their efforts on childhood vaccines. We've also started a public awareness campaign to ensure that caregivers, families understand the importance of keeping their children's vaccines up to date.
Keep in mind, the outbreak is mostly centered around southwestern Ontario. Health experts say measles can lead to serious and potentially deadly complications, especially among the most vulnerable.
Meantime, the Ford government is warning that childcare costs could be on the rise. The province says if the next federal government doesn't increase funding for the $10 a day program, costs will go up. Ontario childcare fees are capped at $22 a day as an interim step toward the $10 mark, but the province didn't sign an extension to the program before the election was called. It has inked an agreement in principle saying it wants to continue delivering reduced fees, but claims the current funding structure would leave it $10 billion short over 5 years. Hot Docs is moving closer to selling its flagship theater located in the Annex. The festival says it accepted a conditional offer for Ted Rogers Cinema, which was put up for sale last year amid financial difficulties. The company is not sharing the name of the buyer until the deal is finalized. The deal, which is expected to conclude this summer, comes with a leasing arrangement to allow the organization to continue programming at the Bloor Street venue year-round.
The Tony Awards have announced the next recipient of one of Broadway's highest honors. Actor and playwright Harvey Fierstein already has 4 Tony Awards under his belt, but now he's set to receive a special award for Lifetime Achievement in Theater. Fierstein is known for his starring roles in classics like Hairspray and La Cage aux Folles. He's also written a number of hit musicals and plays. He'll receive the honor during the ceremony on June 8th.
Singer-songwriter Lorde is out with a new song and music video.
I was 17, I gave you everything. Now we wake from a dream. Well, baby, what was that?
Lorde has been teasing her song, What Was That, for the last few weeks. The video features her walking around New York City and also includes footage of a fan event she held there, previewing the song just a few days ago. The song's release has added to speculation the pop star could soon release her first new album since 2021's Solar Power.
Still ahead on CTV News, the world's biggest soccer star comes to Canada. Messi Mania takes Vancouver by storm ahead of the CONCACAF matchup tonight.
Now more than ever, Canadians need to know where our leaders stand. Tariffs, job security, sovereignty, an election like never before. Now more than ever, CTV News delivers a Canadian voice with perspective that cuts through the clutter, focusing on the stories that affect us all, connecting you to Canada's most trusted news wherever you are. CTV News, now more than ever.
Heard something to the effect of 8 to 10 loud popping noises.
Updating our top stories now, a shocking scene at Canada's largest airport this morning as officers shot and killed a man who they say pulled out a firearm. Peel police say it happened when they were trying to de-escalate a standoff between a group of adults who knew each other. The Special Investigations Unit has taken over the case. Air traffic at Pearson was not affected.
Should be looking at innovative ways that are not unlike what's already allowed in most of the world.
City Council has backed a motion from Councillor Josh Matlow calling for a review of city bylaws around parks. Among the proposed changes, fewer limits on common activities and more food and beverage options. Councillors also voted today to rename a new park in the Lawrence Park Ravine after late councillor Jay Robinson.
He actually wants to destroy our economy. It's not just words, he wants to do it.
And Premier Doug Ford today pushed back on comments from U.S. President Donald Trump that he might consider a higher tariff on cars manufactured outside the U.S. Additional auto tariffs on vehicle parts are supposed to kick in on May 3rd, but Ford says a lot of uncertainty remains around what will actually happen between now and then as U.S. policies shift and evolve.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos or video of breaking news, let us know.
Well, a last-ditch effort to save a few Hudson's Bay stores is failing. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has the details in tonight's business report.
The company filed for bankruptcy protection in early March with more than $1 billion in debt. Clearance sales at 90 locations started soon after that. There was a plan to keep the doors open at 6 stores in Ontario and Quebec, but court documents reveal no investors stepped forward. As a result, clearance sales will start on Friday at those remaining stores. Hudson's Bay is Canada's oldest business with a 350-year history. Alphabet reported its first quarter results after North American markets closed. It did beat estimates, bringing in $90.2 billion in the quarter. The estimate was $89.1. Shares in the parent company of Google started to rise in after-hours trading. Shares of Intel started dropping after hours after it released Q1 results. It did beat estimates on revenue, but guidance disappointed. The company is slashing its workforce in an effort to be more efficient. Intel recently hired a new CEO to try and turn things around. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar moved up slightly today to 72.18. West Texas Intermediate is up about 52 cents to 62.79. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down more than $1 to $51.90. And another positive day for the TSX itself. It gained 254 points to end the day at 24,727. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
As the Bay looks to liquidate its remaining stores, it is also seeking permission in court to auction off more than 4,000 pieces of art and historical artifacts, including the 355-year-old Royal Charter, which launched the company. Historians consider it one of the country's most significant archival documents. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs has raised concerns about an auction, asking for the sale of any items linked to First Nations to be halted.
Also this week, the beer store confirmed it will be closing more locations in the province. 2 outlets in Toronto, one in Woodbridge, another in Ottawa, are set to shutter in June. These closures come months after the province expanded the sale of alcohol into convenience stores, gas stations, and big box stores like Costco and Walmart. If you've been stressed at work lately, you are not alone. A new survey finds it's a common theme among Canadian workers. The new Gallup survey asked more than 225,000 workers about their experiences on the job and in their lives generally. It found Canadian workers are among the most stressed in the world, with nearly 6 in 10 respondents saying they experience stress a majority of the day, a full 18 percentage points higher than the global rate.
Messi mania is building across Vancouver as Inter Miami FC and Lionel Messi take the city by storm. Messi and his teammates are gearing up for tonight's match against the Vancouver Whitecaps, the first leg of their CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal. Police escorted the team's bus to UBC Wednesday so the players could practice, and a crowd of fans were there to try to catch a glimpse of soccer royalty.
It's like insanely exciting because last time he couldn't even come here, and then this time he finally came. I have a lot of pictures. I was climbing like the trees and stuff to see him.
He's like the whole reason I'm playing the sport, so it's kind of special to see him.
I've always dreamed of watching Messi play or just see him. He's also pretty much the reason I play soccer. Like I watched him since I was little.
Ticket prices for today's game at BC Place have spiked. It is expected more than 54,000 fans will attend the big game, a number that would likely mark the Whitecaps' highest attendance of the season so far.
The Montreal Canadiens may have made it to the playoffs, but the familiar Go Habs Go signs won't be lit up on city buses this season. The city's transit agency says it had to change the messaging to Allez Montréal Allez after a complaint was filed with Quebec's language police. That complaint, which was received last year, referenced a sign cheering on Montreal's professional soccer team, but since the word go is considered an anglicisme, the phrase had to be manually removed from bus signage. Many Quebec politicians are saying the original classic chant, Go Habs Go, should be kept. But enough about the Habs, Lindsay's, and Leafs land.
We are getting closer and closer to puck drop here. It is a beautiful night. Are you guys having fun? Yeah! We're going to take one more look at your weather forecast in just a moment here, but I think it's time for one more Go Leafs Go. What do you say? Let's hear it. Go Leafs Go! Go Leafs Go! Go Leafs Go! Go Leafs Go! We'll be right back after this. Go Leafs Go! Go Leafs Go! Go Leafs Go!
Tonight, Mark Carney questioned over his first phone call with Donald Trump.
I said that he did. I said that he did.
New details on what was actually said back in March and the narrowing polls as Election Day nears. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app. Now more than ever, Canadians need to know where our leaders stand. CTV News keeps you informed on the issues that hit home. This election, connect to Canada's most trusted news source, CTV News, now more than ever.
With warmer temperatures now here, you may have spotted more trash around local parks, especially as the snow melts away and items left over from winter months are uncovered. The city is getting ready to launch its annual Clean Toronto Together spring cleanup tomorrow. It is set to run through Sunday and invites community members and groups to volunteer and collect litter in parks, ravines, and other natural spaces like beaches. Well, tonight the Ottawa Senators will host the Toronto Maple Leafs for Game 3 in the Battle of Ontario.
It's been a tough series for fans in parts of the province divided over who to cheer for, and that includes some neighbors who sent us video of a playful showdown in Stittsville. Okay, so that's Jerry, also known as Jer Bear, in the Sens jersey, battling it out on the front lawn with his neighbor Walter in the Leafs jersey. Jerry's owners are all in for the Sens, and Walter's owners are rooting for the blue and white. No word, though, on who came out on top. As top dog, I guess you could say, in this tussle. Got to throw a dog pun in there. All right, let's check in on Lindsay. She is among the crowd. The game's starting soon.
Michelle and Natalie, it is getting louder and louder down here by the minute. I can tell you that everyone is having a great time and everyone is ready for this Battle of Ontario to continue. Go Leafs go, and the weather is cooperating for us too. Let's take one more look at the satellite and radar. Looks like we're going to stay dry here, and yes, it is still quite mild. Sunset still not for another over an hour at this point. Tomorrow it is going to be a little bit cooler, but it's seasonably cool. Temperature-wise, this is where we expect to be at this time of year. We're just watching for the risk of thunderstorms continuing into at least the start of the weekend. Lots of sunshine into the day on Sunday. It's been a blast here live from Maple Leaf Square. Game 3 just about to begin. Again, go Leafs go. Michelle and Natalie, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it. Oh, it's going to be an exciting game, and that's it for us. But you can join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Pauline Chan with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.
Go Leafs go. Can't let down Walter the dog.